Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Bold and Beautiful. Today Will is shot by Luna with a gun intended for Steffi. Luna Nozawa, but Will accomplish just that with the police department's assistance. After everything is set up by Deputy Chief Bradley Baker, viewers will witness Will throwing himself at Luna in her apartment while wearing a wire. Will's decision to flirt with danger rather than Electra Forrester will delight duped Luna. Will's strategy will be hazardous, but he hopes to get Luna to confess to her scheme to harm Steffi Forrester. Sadly, BNB spoilers suggest that Will's plan will fail miserably. The situation will take a startling turn and result in some unsettling news once Luna discovers what Will is actually up to. Luna might lose her temper and become resentful of Will at that precise moment. Naturally, Luna will also be terrified of returning to prison because by then she will most likely have confessed to her deadly Steffi plot. Will Luna end up shooting Will even though she purchased that gun with the goal of shooting Steffi? Luna might shoot Will, injuring him, and then flee the room after realizing his deceit. Luna might possibly take a less extreme approach, such as hitting Will in the head with a lamp or anything similar. But since Luna has been honing her aim, it makes more sense for that pistol to be used. When Luna runs away, this might make things more serious for her and endanger Will's life. If Will sustains major injuries, Electra will undoubtedly get extremely alarmed. The same is true for the other members of Will's family, thus this might become a medical emergency and a hospital waiting game. It all started with secrets, lies, and ambition, ingredients that had long poisoned the lives of everyone involved in the glamorous, dangerously tangled web of Forrester creations. Luna Nozawa, once the fresh-faced intern trying to prove herself in a world dominated by legacies and power, had long crossed the line between desperation and destruction. Her envy of Steffi Forrester had morphed into obsession, where once she idolized her, she now fantasized about removing her altogether. But nothing, not even Luna's most calculated schemes, could prepare her for the chaos to come. With her jealousy spiraling into madness, Luna meticulously planned to get Steffi out of the picture, buying an unregistered handgun and practicing at a hidden shooting range for weeks, determined to make sure no one could trace the weapon. Yet the universe, ever fond of irony, had its own plans. Unbeknownst to Luna, Will, handsome, charming, and far more cunning than he let on, had his suspicions. When Luna began acting erratically, withdrawing from friends and appearing flustered in Steffi's presence, Will's protective instincts kicked in, especially given Steffi's high-profile status and fragile recent recovery from a previous scandal. He took his concerns to Deputy Chief Bradley Baker, who was already keeping an eye on Luna after a tip-off about the illegal firearm. What no one expected was the bold, dangerous plan Will would volunteer for: wear a wire, get close to Luna, and try to trick a confession out of her. It was risky, especially given Luna's volatility, but Will was confident in his ability to handle the situation, or at least, he pretended to be. Everything began unraveling on a humid Thursday evening. Luna, unsuspecting and increasingly convinced of Will's affection, welcomed him into her upscale apartment nestled in the hills above Los Angeles. The skyline shimmered through the expansive windows as soft music played in the background, casting a surreal calm over the coming storm. Luna, giddy from the idea of Will choosing her over Electra Forrester, moved with the flirtatious air of a woman finally believing she had won. She poured him a glass of wine, smiled coyly, and made a comment about how dangerous secrets can be thrilling. Will played along, feigning interest while subtly guiding the conversation toward Steffi. "You ever think about what your life would be like if Steffi wasn't around?" he asked, letting the question hang in the air like gunpowder waiting for a match. Luna's eyes darkened for a moment, and the mask slipped. "All the time," she said, almost dreamily. "She's always been in the way, always getting everything I wanted. Maybe that's why I had to plan something that would change the game." That was the moment Will leaned in, trying to get her to say more, hoping the wire picked up every syllable. But as Luna continued, her voice growing quieter, more dangerous, the air shifted. Her pupils dilated not with lust, but with realization. Something in Will's expression, perhaps the subtle tension in his jaw or the way he glanced once too often at the hidden mic under his shirt collar, gave him away. Her smile faded. "You're not here for me," she whispered, stepping back. "You're setting me up." Will stood, hands raised, trying to keep her calm, but it was too late. Luna's rage, years of humiliation, rejection, and self-loathing bubbling beneath the surface, finally exploded. She screamed, stormed across the room, and yanked open a drawer. Will's eyes widened as he saw the gleam of cold metal in her hands. "Luna, put the gun down," he said slowly, firmly, knowing the police were already on their way but not nearly fast enough. She was shaking now, tears streaming down her face. "You tricked me, you made me think you cared," she sobbed. "I was going to get rid of Steffi and make things right. You ruined it." With trembling fingers, Luna raised the gun. Will didn't run. He knew any sudden movement could be his last. "It doesn't have to end this way," he pleaded. But in Luna's mind, it already had. A shot rang out, shattering the silence, the window, and any illusion of control. Will staggered back, clutching his side as blood soaked through his shirt. Luna screamed, horrified by what she'd done, and in that second, self-preservation overtook everything. She dropped the gun, then picked it up again, hands smeared in blood, and bolted out the door just as police sirens echoed in the distance. She vanished into the night while Will collapsed against the sofa, fading in and out of consciousness. Moments later, officers burst in, securing the scene, the blood, the shattered glass, the discarded wine glasses now tainted with fingerprints and panic. Deputy Chief Baker swore under his breath, rushing to Will's side as paramedics arrived. The damage was bad, but not immediately fatal. They had a window. They always had a window. At the hospital, chaos unfolded. Electra arrived moments later, nearly collapsing at the sight of Will's blood-soaked body being wheeled into surgery. Steffi was called in too, trying to process that Luna, the quiet, overlooked intern, had planned to murder her and ended up nearly killing someone else. News spread like wildfire. Forrester Creations went into crisis mode. Paparazzi camped outside the hospital. Bloggers speculated. Was Luna on drugs? Was it a love triangle gone wrong? Was it premeditated or a mental break? Meanwhile, Luna became a fugitive. Authorities tracked her last known location to a highway security camera, but then she disappeared. Rumors emerged, she had help. Someone from the inside, maybe someone with a grudge against Steffi or Will. Back at the hospital, Will's condition remained critical. He suffered internal bleeding, a collapsed lung, and required 2 emergency surgeries. Electra refused to leave his side, blaming herself for not seeing the warning signs. She and Steffi, once cold rivals, found themselves united in grief, fear, and fury. Deputy Baker launched a full manhunt, pressuring Luna's former friends, employers, even her family, to come forward with information. None could explain her descent into violence, though signs had been there: diary entries, strange absences, obsessive behavior toward Steffi. Still, none thought it would come to this. Days passed. Will eventually stabilized, but the road to recovery would be long. Luna, however, remained a ghost. Her face flashed across national news. Talk shows speculated about the fallen intern turned assassin. She was painted as both a villain and a victim of the high-stakes, emotionally brutal world of the fashion elite. Some viewers blamed Will, saying he provoked her. Others believed Luna had always been unhinged, just good at hiding it. But truth, as always, lay somewhere in between. Will, weak but awake, gave his statement to the police. He didn't blame her. Not entirely. She was lost, he said quietly. But she still pulled the trigger. His words rippled through the media like aftershocks. Electra, however, couldn't forgive. She vowed to see Luna arrested and punished, no matter how long it took. Meanwhile, Steffi fortified her security and held a press conference thanking Will for his bravery, igniting another media frenzy. Luna's future remained uncertain. Rumors whispered she had fled to another country, changed her appearance, or was hiding with an underground group who helped fugitives evade justice. Others claimed sightings, at gas stations, bus terminals, seedy motels, but none confirmed. Her story became legend, a cautionary tale in the halls of Forrester Creations. Will's shooting changed everything. Relationships shifted. loyalties realigned. Secrets that had been buried surfaced in the wake of the tragedy. Old rivalries were reignited, and new alliances formed. But through it all, one question haunted everyone: what pushed Luna to the edge? Was it ambition, heartbreak, betrayal, or something darker? And if she returned, what would she do next? Because one thing was certain: no one, not Steffi, not Will, not even Electra, would ever forget the night Luna pulled the trigger. It had been meant for one heart, but it found another, and the bullet kept traveling, metaphorically piercing through reputations, relationships, and the fragile illusion of safety that surrounded the glittering world of Los Angeles elite. As Will slowly healed, scarred in more ways than one, Luna's shadow loomed over every moment, reminding them all that obsession, once ignited, doesn't always die. It sometimes hides, waits, and reloads. Liam's confession, Luna's escape, and Brooke's rescue. As she flees, Luna Nozawa will cast a shadow. Luna's flight. Luna is about to flee after becoming entangled in Will Spencer's seduction plot. This July, Steffi Forrester and John Finnegan may continue to worry about Luna as long as she is still at large. Although Jacqueline's maternity leave start date is unknown at this time, Steffi might eventually send the children to Europe for their protection. However, Ridge Forrester's upcoming plot may offer some clues about what's to come. The future of Steffi's family should be bright, even if there is more mayhem surrounding Luna. Nick's romantic actions. If Steffi or the children were still dealing with major problems, it's difficult to think Ridge would go after Brooke Logan in Italy. Ridge will play a significant role in the next special episodes of B&B that are set in Capri and Naples and are slated to debut in late July. Of course, the Italian plot will also involve Nick Marone. Nick will be going all out, as we can anticipate that he will eventually deepen their romance and even pop the question to Brooke with a ring. However, Brooke is about to have an accident that will finally show Ridge where his allegiances lie. The rescue of Brooke. A rescue situation is imminent, most likely following Brooke's unintentional plunge into a body of water while traveling. Ridge will have an epiphany and understand that Brooke is the only woman for him, regardless of whether Nick saves Brooke or Ridge takes decisive action. In order to resume her life, Taylor Hayes will have to find a way to let go of Ridge. In the meantime, it seems likely that Daphne Rose will comply with Steffi's desire to go back to Los Angeles. The trust that Carter Walton and Hope Logan are working to rebuild may be in jeopardy if Daphne returns. Liam's disclosure. Daphne's off-screen affair with Carter has many fans wondering if she's pregnant, so that's definitely something to think about. Furthermore, it is anticipated that Liam Spencer's brain tumor symptoms may worsen, which would eventually lead him to tell May, Wyatt, and Bill Spencer. Finn, Steffi, and Hope have all been urging Liam to take on additional assistance. Given the upcoming poignant sequences, it appears that Liam may eventually tell his family his secret. Luna Nozawa had never imagined that one night of vulnerability could spiral into a runaway life shadowed by guilt, danger, and the weight of secrets too heavy to share. Trapped in the alluring yet manipulative web spun by Will Spencer, Luna had fallen for the charm that cloaked his agenda. The seductive scheme had gone deeper than anyone knew, far beyond flirtation. It was a plan to manipulate her into turning against the Forresters, sowing chaos from within. But Luna wasn't weak. She saw the truth too late, but she saw it nonetheless. With the threat of exposure and heartbreak looming over the lives of Steffi Forrester and John Finnegan, Luna made her move. The sun hadn't even risen when she packed her things, leaving behind the glamour and glitz of Los Angeles for the anonymity of shadowy train stations, quiet motels, and changing hairstyles. Her disappearance rattled Finn, who was still piecing together the true extent of her entanglement with Will. Steffi, more protective than ever of their children, quietly contemplated a drastic measure, taking the kids to Europe, away from the tightening grip of danger. While Jacqueline McInnes Wood's maternity leave had not yet been officially announced, fans could feel the weight of Steffi's arc reaching a crescendo. The possibility of Luna returning, armed with new secrets or perhaps completely transformed, loomed large over July's narrative landscape. Meanwhile, Ridge Forrester's journey took him to Italy, a place that once promised peace but now swirled with decisions of the heart. While chaos followed Luna's trail, a different emotional storm brewed in the sun-soaked alleys of Naples and the glittering waters of Capri, where Ridge had taken off for what many believed was a soul-searching escape. Italy was more than a vacation, it was a mirror reflecting Ridge's tangled heart. With Brooke Logan and Nick Marone by his side, the old love triangle was reigniting under a Mediterranean sun. Nick, ever the romantic, saw this as his final shot. The moonlit dinners, long walks on cobblestone streets, and quiet gondola rides weren't just about nostalgia, they were a crescendo leading to one moment. He proposed to Brooke in front of a quaint Italian villa, offering a ring and a future untouched by Ridge's indecision. But just as Brooke stood between the past and a possible new beginning, fate intervened. A slip, a misstep on wet stone, a scream lost in the echo of crashing waves, Brooke fell into the dark waters below. Everything paused. Time twisted. And then Ridge leapt, not hesitating, not thinking, driven purely by instinct. He reached her, pulling her from the current, his hands trembling but firm, his breath mingling with hers in the night air. In that harrowing moment, clarity broke through the fog. Brooke was, and had always been, the woman who held his soul. Nick watched, knowing that the rescue wasn't just physical, it was a reclaiming of a bond too deep to sever. Brooke, shaken but safe, felt the same pull, and the soft words exchanged in the hospital room afterward sealed what years of separation couldn't undo. Taylor Hayes, ever the portrait of strength, saw the writing on the wall. No longer able to deny what her heart already knew, she began the painful but necessary process of letting go. And while Ridge and Brooke's future was gaining definition, another return threatened to disrupt a fragile balance. Daphne Rose, ever enigmatic, was persuaded by Steffi to return to Los Angeles, a decision that set off silent alarms for Carter Walton and Hope Logan. Daphne had always walked the line between mystery and trouble, and her arrival brought with it whispers of a secret, one Hope wasn't ready to hear. Could Daphne be pregnant? Was Carter the father? Their off-screen romance, long dismissed as a casual escape from heartbreak, now took center stage. Tensions mounted as Carter, who had been rebuilding trust with Hope after a series of betrayals and personal failures, found himself once again answering questions with half-truths and uncomfortable silences. Hope, still reeling from her own romantic whiplash, found herself staring at Daphne during a Forrester gathering, reading into every glance, every guarded gesture. But even that drama would be overshadowed by what was happening on the Spencer front, where Liam's health, both mental and physical, was rapidly deteriorating. Liam Spencer had always been a figure torn between duty and desire, between Hope and Steffi, between doing what's right and what feels inevitable. But lately, his confusion had taken a darker turn. Headaches, blackouts, and sudden bouts of aggression had become harder to hide. A recent fall at the Spencer offices had forced a medical check, and the truth emerged like a dark cloud: Liam had a brain tumor. He kept it from nearly everyone, refusing pity, not wanting to be seen as fragile. But secrecy is a fickle companion. Hope noticed the changes. So did Finn, whose medical instincts twitched every time Liam entered the room. But it was Will Spencer, sharp beyond his years, who cornered Liam during a quiet moment at the Cliff House and asked, "Are you okay, Dad?" And just like that, the dam cracked. Liam couldn't lie anymore. The confession poured out, about the tumor, the fears, the guilt, and the truth he'd been burying for months. He hadn't told Hope because he didn't want her staying out of obligation. He hadn't told Steffi because he knew she had enough on her plate. And he hadn't told Bill or Wyatt because he feared seeing pity in their eyes. But the truth was out now. Finn, stepping into his professional role, coordinated Liam's next steps, vowing to be the doctor and brother-in-law he needed. Hope, shocked but unwavering, stayed by his side. Even Steffi found her anger softened by compassion. And Bill? For all his bluster and bravado, his hug was the fiercest. Wyatt promised to keep Liam's business running while he sought treatment, and for the first time in months, Liam didn't feel alone. Back in the shadows, Luna watched news reports from a dusty cafe in Barcelona, recognizing faces she once called family. Her fingers trembled over the burner phone in her hand. Should she return? Could she? Her escape had kept her safe but hadn't quieted her guilt. Brooke's rescue, Ridge's clarity, Liam's confession, all of it felt like signs. And yet, her greatest fear remained: what if her truth shattered everything they were just starting to rebuild? Still, she couldn't run forever. She booked a ticket to Los Angeles. Her return would spark new conflict, revive old wounds, but maybe, just maybe, it would also bring healing. July would not be a quiet month in Los Angeles. With love reignited, secrets confessed, and ghosts returning, the Forrester, Logan, and Spencer clans stood on the edge of a season that would redefine everything they thought they knew about loyalty, love, and redemption.